You're deep asleep. It's 3 a.m. The room is dark. Everything is quiet. And then it happens. A baby cries. Not nearby, not in your house. Maybe through a wall, maybe from a passing car, maybe from a phone speaker in a grocery store 2 aisles over. And something inside you lurches. Your heart rate spikes. Your muscles tighten. Your brain snaps to full alert faster than you can form a single conscious thought. You didn't choose that reaction. You didn't decide to care. You weren't even thinking about babies. But your body responded anyway, like an alarm going off inside your chest that nobody asked you to install. Here's what's strange. It doesn't matter if you're a parent. It doesn't matter if you even like children. It doesn't matter if you're a battle-hardened soldier or a sleep-deprived teenager who's never held an infant in your life. The cry cuts through. Every single time. And the question nobody ever stops to ask is, why? Why does the sound of a crying baby hijack the human brain with such precision? Why does it feel almost physically uncomfortable, like a splinter lodged somewhere behind your sternum? And why does ignoring it feel not just difficult, but wrong, like violating some ancient rule you never agreed to? The answer takes us back roughly 300,000 years, back to a world with no hospitals, no safe houses, no locked doors between you and the dark. Back to a world where the cry of a baby wasn't just inconvenient, it was life or death. But here's the twist, and this is the part that will genuinely surprise you. It wasn't just the baby's life at stake, it was yours. In 2021, a team of neuroscientists at Oxford found something remarkable. When human adults, any adults, not just parents, heard the sound of a crying infant, a specific part of the brain activated within 100 milliseconds. That's faster than a blink, faster than conscious thought. The region that lit up, the same one that responds to physical pain. Your brain doesn't just register a crying baby as an urgent sound. It registers it as suffering happening to you. But why would evolution build this in so deep? To understand that, you have to walk back into the world our ancestors actually lived in. Picture the African savanna, roughly 200,000 years ago. Small bands of early Homo sapiens, maybe 20 to 50 people, moving constantly, hunting, foraging, sleeping in the open or in shallow caves. Every night was a negotiation with danger. Lions, leopards, rival groups, exposure, starvation. In that world, a crying infant was a beacon. Predators hunt by sound. Everyone in that small group knew it, not intellectually, but in their bones. A baby who cried too long, too loud in the wrong moment could draw something out of the darkness that would end everyone, not just the child, the whole camp. This is where the science gets genuinely chilling. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy, one of the world's foremost experts on early human childcare, has argued that our ancestors practiced something called cooperative breeding. Unlike most primates, human infants were too costly, too helpless, and too demanding to be raised by one or two parents alone. It took a village, literally. Aunts, uncles, older siblings, grandmothers, especially grandmothers. Everyone had a stake in whether that infant survived. And that means everyone had a biological reason to respond to the cry. Because if that child died, the group got weaker. And a weaker group was a group closer to extinction. Your discomfort when a baby cries, that's not politeness. That's not social conditioning. That's 300,000 years of survival pressure encoded directly into your nervous system. But here's where it gets even more fascinating, because the cry itself is not random. Infants didn't just evolve to cry. They evolved to cry strategically. A 2019 study from the University of St. Andrews found that infant cries contain what researchers call urgency gradients, subtle acoustic shifts in pitch, rhythm, and duration that communicate different types of need. Hunger sounds different from pain. Pain sounds different from fear. And adult brains, Even those with zero childcare experience can distinguish between them with startling accuracy. The baby didn't learn this. You didn't learn this. It's a conversation that's been happening between human infants and human adults for longer than language has existed. A biological negotiation perfected across hundreds of thousands of trial and error. The babies who cried most effectively got fed faster, held longer, protected better, and survived to pass that cry on. Now, here's the part of the story that most people never hear, because the cry didn't just evolve to summon help. In certain circumstances, in the ancient world, it evolved to suppress danger from within the group itself. This is where the archaeology becomes deeply uncomfortable. Evidence from multiple prehistoric sites, including burial records at Sungir in Russia dating back 34,000 years, shows that infants and young children were among the most elaborately buried members of some early human communities, draped in ivory beads, covered in ochre, laid beside tools and grave goods that took enormous effort to produce. These weren't just bodies, they were cherished members of the tribe. But other records, from across cultures and continents, tell a darker parallel story. In times of extreme famine or danger, when resources ran out and survival narrowed to a razor's edge, some groups made unimaginable choices. And the cry, that same piercing, inescapable cry, is believed by some evolutionary psychologists to have served a secondary function. It made abandonment psychologically costly. The more painful it was to hear, the harder it was to walk away. The cry wasn't just asking for help, it was demanding it, by making silence feel like an act of violence against yourself. Here's what that means for you, sitting here in the present day. That feeling in your chest when a baby cries, that tight, urgent, slightly panicked need to do something, is not weakness. It's not sentimentality. It's the oldest alarm system in the human body, still running exactly as designed. Marina Davila-Ross, a psychologist at the University of Portsmouth, has studied emotional contagion in primates for years. Her research suggests that the discomfort we feel hearing infant distress is a form of empathic resonance, the brain mirroring pain signals to motivate action. In other words, your ancestors who felt it most strongly acted faster, and the ones who acted faster saved more infants, and those infants grew up and had children of their own.
You are here watching this because somewhere in your family tree,
Thousands of generations back, someone heard a cry in the darkness and ran toward it instead of away. That person is inside you. That instinct is you. Think about how this ancient wiring shows up in your modern world. It's why advertisers use crying babies in charity campaigns, and it works, even when people know they're being manipulated. It's why horror filmmakers use the sound of infants to signal the deepest kind of wrongness, not jump scares, wrongness, the violation of something that should be protected. It's why nurses in neonatal wards, professionals who hear crying for 8-hour shifts, still report emotional exhaustion that goes beyond ordinary job stress. The alarm doesn't adapt. It doesn't turn off just because you've heard it 10,000 times. It's why parents of newborns describe a specific kind of madness in those first sleepless weeks, not just exhaustion, but the impossibility of ignoring the sound. It's not that they love their child more in those moments. It's that their nervous system has removed the option of indifference entirely. And it's why even now, even in a world of baby monitors and pediatric hospitals and formula and safety rails, when a baby cries somewhere nearby, every adult in the room subtly shifts. The ancient savanna is gone. The response remains. We like to think of ourselves as modern, rational, evolved, operating on logic and reason and conscious choice. But the truth is that underneath all of that, beneath the career and the phone and the apartment and the careful opinions, there's something far older running the show. Something that lived through ice ages, something that buried its dead with ivory beads, something that heard a cry in the darkness 200,000 years ago and did not look away. The sound of a crying baby makes your blood run cold because you were built, over hundreds of thousands of loss and survival and impossible choices, to care against your will. That's not a bug. That's the oldest kindness in the human species. And every time you feel it, that involuntary lurch in your chest, you're not being manipulated. You're being reminded of what you actually are. You are the one who ran toward the cry. You always have been.
If you made it this far, you're not just watching. You're the kind of person who wants to know why. Why we're wired this way. Why the past still runs in the background of everything we do. That's exactly what this channel is for. Subscribing costs nothing. It just tells us to keep digging. See you in the next one.